If you're an adult and you come into this country and you're pregnant and you have a baby in this country, you still know you're subject to deportation even if your child becomes a citizen. Now, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? So we're supposed to say as a country, okay, adult, we're not deporting you. And so what could happen is the adult is deported and they take their child with them, who's an American citizen. That's perfectly legal, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, what does a Trump victory mean? So we went to our favorite Marxist, Robert Reich. Robert Reich, as you know, over the years, we've used him as a foil, not recently. He was Secretary of Labor for a period of time, but he's an absolute jackass. So what does the victory mean? I thought it meant Hitler. I thought it meant dictatorship. I thought he was going to order the military to kill people with whom he disagrees. This is what we heard all over the media, which the professor didn't find to be disinformation or offensive in any respect. So I thought Donald Trump was going to round up journalists, particularly those on MSNBC and CNN, right? It's so pathetic. So let's see what our friend has to say. Go ahead.
I won't try to hide it. I'm heartbroken.
Now, he looks like he's in a full state of constipation. Go ahead.
Heartbroken and scared, to tell you the truth. I still have faith in America. I know we can do a lot to resist Trump's worst plans. But right now, that's little comfort to the people who are most at risk. Today, millions must now live in fear of being swept up by Trump's cruel mass deportation plan.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Mass deportation is not the first time it will occur, and God willing it will occur. It happened under Dwight Eisenhower. They used to like Dwight Eisenhower. He was a moderate president, Republican. He built the highway system, and he did other things they liked, but he also, in his first 6 months, he rounded up 1 million illegal aliens, had the military round them up, and removed them from the United States. Now, he's worried about this. Well, why wasn't he worried about it when the border was opened? Notice he's not worried about, and hasn't said so, the god-awful number of women who've been sold into sex slavery, or the missing 325,000 unaccompanied children. That doesn't seem to worry him. He doesn't talk about it. None of them talk about it. The drug cartels, the torture, the abuse, the murder, the fentanyl, and all the rest. He's worried about the deportation of illegal aliens, millions of them. Well, maybe they shouldn't have let millions of them in here. And I'll do a whole show on this one of these days soon, but the big problem that's hanging out, there's chain migration. These millions of people here illegally, if the women get pregnant, although guys can get pregnant now too, isn't that right? I seem to understand that. I mean, I don't understand it, but I seem to hear that. But anyway, those children become automatically American citizens. And over time, as they get older, we have what's called chain migration. So they can bring in literally scores of relatives, even people they don't know, even distant relatives, third cousins, things like that. They can bring in 20, 25, 30 individuals, each one of them. Now, I want you to multiply that times 10 million. 10 million. There's 21 million illegals. Figure 10 million kids, probably more. At some point, they reach an age where they're free to bring in relatives. What's going to happen to our country then? It'll be destroyed because we don't have assimilation in this country anymore. That's not what happens in our public schools and in our media and all the rest. Anyway, go ahead.
Documented immigrants, as well as undocumented, and millions of American citizens with undocumented parents or spouses. More Americans...
You can't deport American citizens. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody can deport American citizens against their will. Period. Now, let's keep a few things in mind, what he's talking about, but he's purposely fear-mongering. Every illegal alien that's come into this country has done so voluntarily, even the ones that pay, these drug cartels and the rest to bring them here. They chose to come to the United States. They know the law. I'm not talking about the intricacies of the law. They know what illegal means. They know what legal means. They know what citizen means. They know what non-citizen means. This is something that is well known throughout the world, the third world, particularly in our hemisphere, with people who come here. That's number one. So number two, you've come here voluntarily. The United States isn't dragging you across the border saying, please come here, please come here. The border's wide open. They're coming, but they're voluntarily coming on their own. Number two, if you're an adult and you come into this country and you're pregnant and you have a baby in this country, you still know you're subject to deportation even if your child becomes a citizen. Now, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? So we're supposed to say as a country, okay, adult, we're not deporting you. And so what could happen is the adult is deported and they take their child with them, who's an American citizen. That's perfectly legal. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I will put a footnote onto this too. Nowhere is it written that somebody who's born in the United States of America is a citizen because they're born here. This is something that just happened through the bureaucracy. There's no federal law that provides for that. None. None. As I think I've explained here over the years in the past, the best we can do to figure this out is that the Social Security Administration made that decision because for bookkeeping purposes, it was just easier. And then this becomes the so-called law for every administrative court, for every constitutional court. And all of a sudden is, well, they're born here, so they're a citizen. It's ridiculous. And so the argument goes that you're born here, it talks about American jurisdiction, so the jurisdiction is American and you're a citizen. No, it's the reverse, which is, how is it possible for somebody to create a jurisdiction for themselves, committing an illegal act? It's not. But look, what do I know? Go ahead.
Now must fear that they'll be forced to give birth or be denied life-saving care during an ectopic pregnancy or miscarriage.
What is, you'll be forced to give birth? Somebody's forced to give birth. Isn't it the opposite? Everybody's running around getting abortions. That's what I heard right up to and through the election. So now you're forced to give birth during an ectopic pregnancy or miscarriage? You're not forced to give birth. Go ahead.
Today, America has become less safe for trans people.
Why? Who's stopping people from chopping off their genitalia or adding to it? Is there somebody stopping that? No. We're talking about sports. We're talking about the impact of people who do these things. They're free to do them to themselves and identify as whatever they want. But you're not free to destroy an entire culture, women's sports. That you're not free to do by saying, I identify as X, Y, or Z. Well, I guess it's X, Y. But you get the point. Go ahead.
Especially trans kids, who are already at risk of violence and discrimination.
Well, who wants violence against trans kids? What we're talking about is that parents need to be involved in every decision affecting that child. States, it's a fact. Stay out of the bedroom, except when it comes to your kid. We're in charge. It doesn't work that way. Those are our kids. We're in charge. And so these state laws that pretend to be doing something righteous, they're not doing anything righteous. It's heinous. The reason you have parental involvement is because that's your blood, that's your flesh. Nobody knows better than you what's in the best interest of your children. You have to be involved in these decisions, whether it is transitioning, whether it is abortion, because these people want the state to substitute for the parent and the parent's decision. Or the school system, for God's sakes. They can't even teach mathematics. And so this is a direct assault on the family, a direct assault on children, an empowerment of the state by a party that says, stay out of our bedroom, it's our body. Leave your hands off my kid. That's his or her body, and that's my kid. Go ahead.
Anyone who has already faced prejudice and marginalization is now in greater danger.
No, they're not.
Trump has also promised to seek revenge against his political opponents.
No, he hasn't.
Countless Americans are endangered now on a scale and intensity almost unheard of.
Let me ask you something. Don't you find these people to be psychopaths? The way they live and the way they think, there's something so wrong. They live in their own delusion. They live in their own imagination. And then they project it onto the rest of us and they spew this stuff. And these people, they've gone to Harvard and Yale, they've taught at these schools, they've held high government positions, they hold positions in radio and TV and Hollywood and all. This is sick. This is absolutely sick. Go ahead.
In modern America, our first responsibility is to protect these people and resist these forces.
Resist what and protect whom? I thought they believed in democracy. I thought they believed that you ought to accept the outcome of an election. Does this sound like this punk is doing that? No. He's lost his mind.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.